The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Matthew. When Jesus entered Capernaum, a centurion approached him and appealed to him, saying, "Lord, my servant is lying at home, paralyzed, suffering dreadfully." Jesus said to him, "I will come and cure him." The centurion said in reply, "Lord, I am not worthy to have you enter under my roof. Only say the word, and my servant will be healed. For I too am a man subject to authority, with soldiers subject to me. And I say to one, 'Go,' and he goes, and to another, 'Come here,' and he comes, and to my slave, 'Do this,' and he does it." When Jesus heard this, he was amazed, and said to those following him, "Amen, I say to you, in no one in Israel have I found such faith. I say to you, many will come from the east and the west, and will recline with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob at the banquet in the kingdom of heaven. But the children of the kingdom will be driven out into the outer darkness, where there will be wailing and grinding of teeth." And Jesus said to the centurion, "You may go. As you have believed, let it be done for you." At that very hour, his servant was healed. Jesus entered the house of Peter and saw his mother-in-law lying in bed with a fever. He touched her hand. The fever left her, and she rose and waited on him. When it was evening, they brought him many who were possessed by demons, and he drove out the spirits by a word and cured all the sick, to fulfill what had been said by Isaiah the prophet. He took away our infirmities and bore our diseases. The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord.
What is this faith that Jesus commends the centurion for having and criticizes his own people for not having? Basically, I think the bottom line of faith is that you understand that you are not the center of the universe. That we are part of a grand order that is God's order. And that our fulfillment comes in fulfilling that relationship with others. That is God's design. And so we don't have to say that, faith is found when I am continually seeking God's will. Because God's will is just that we look around and discover our relationships to one another in Him. And once again, recognize that we are not at the center of those relationships. He is. And so God's work in us and our faith in God's work is not just to do what we want Him to do. Faith does not mean that we have a right because we, quote, believe in his power. Faith does not mean that we have a right to tell God what to do, or to expect that because of a certain goodness of our lives, God is going to come through for us. No, faith really means that no matter what is happening, we will seek the good of others in our relationships with them under God, and will act in accord with that. I think our saint today, the newly minted, he was canonized about 1.5 years ago by Pope Francis in Washington, D.C. Our newly minted Saint Junipero Serra is a very good example of that. He lived at a time of immense pride and egotism on the part of European powers, and Spain was kind of at the forefront of them, who felt that because they had discovered what they considered a new world, even though civilizations had existed there for millennia, they didn't recognize any kind of validity to those civilizations. They just saw that this new world was theirs to exploit for their own commercial, greedy reasons. Junipero Serra saw that tremendous damage was being done in that exploitation of the new world. And he sought to bring the people, along with many others, sought to bring the people who were there into the dignity of being children of God. Sometimes he is criticized for being a child of his times. He used the methods of his times. But he also transcended the limitations of some of those methods in his love and care for the people who were otherwise being exploited, being killed, being cast aside in the lust of conquest that basically captured the colonizers of this new world. He stood up for those who were being affected. He stood up for those who were being trampled upon because he recognized in faith their God-given dignity. And he sought to bring them into that relationship born in faith, that relationship with Jesus Christ that brings about in God's will the unity rather than division among peoples, the unity that is his kingdom. So the bottom line is, in imitation of Blessed Saint Junipero Serra, in imitation, in following the commendation of faith that Jesus gave to the Centurion, let us try to be conscious in our own hearts every moment. We're not the center of the world. We need to look around and discover the opportunities that God has given us to lift up one another so that we may be one people gathered in his name.